Greetings. Today I'll be painting an Assault Intercessor from the Sons of the Phoenix chapter. This was a request from one of my friends. They had to choose a complicated one. The model is mostly unmodified, though I've used a 3D printed pauldron where I put the insignia on myself. The right shoulder has been modified so that the arm aims further forward. I primed the model black, and after leaving it to cure for a while, I began base coating the off-white sections with Deepkin flesh. This paint's pretty thin, and we're going from an all black all the way up to an all white, so I applied 4 or 5 thin watered down layers, in an attempt to keep the paint from clogging any details, and also maintaining a smooth appearance. After I was happy with the off-white colour, I moved on to the right arm. The Sons of the Phoenix paint their right arm and left knee pad a light burgundy colour, so I used Screamer Pink for this. Screamer Pink has great coverage, so I only took a single coat, even after a tiny bit of water was added to help it apply more smoothly. I also used this colour for the Purity Seal wax. I then switched to Black Legion to paint the Armorial. I embossed this design with a 0.35mm thickness, which is really tiny, so I had to do most of it off camera. I also used this colour for the undersuit, cabling and weapons. I used Rhinox hide for the holster, pouch and belt. I base coated the parchment with Steel Legion Drab. A highlight of Morghast bone was then applied to the parchment in a line pattern. Skrag brown was used for the leather, giving it a very warm and fluffy appearance. I finished the leather with Deathclaw brown, just dotting the spots with the most definition already applied. For metallics I used Leadbelcher, base coating the chainsword, bolter, power pack, and little details like the chain on the belt and the helmet tubes. I switched to Retributor armour for the gold details. I applied it a bit too thick for the Imperialis, but I managed to spread the paint around before it had time to dry. The reliquary, pauldron trims, chainsword pommel, knee pad trim, and the lights on his wrist were also base coated with Retributor armour. Next I went back to correct some mistakes, using Screamer Pink and Deepkin flesh. I prepared the surfaces for decals with Ardcoat, then cut out decals matching the colour plate. Sons of the Phoenix Battle Brothers have an Aquila on their forehead. The wiki and codex are inconsistent with the company markings, so I couldn't figure out what company this is meant to be. In the end I just copied what was seen in the codex. I roughly measured these checkers before cutting them out, and I applied them to the surface. I used a probably not sharp enough hobby knife to cut around the charging handle and later the ejection port to allow it to sit flushly. Each of these decals received 2 or 3 coats of microsol throughout an hour-long period. I wanted them fully set before the next step. Next, I tried to stain the transfers with appropriate colours. I used Blood Angel's red contrast paint here. It didn't cover anywhere near as well as what I was hoping for. Perhaps Bile Red would have worked better for this. I decided to leave that part for now, so I switched to Imperial Fist for the yellow markings. I feared that it would behave like the red, but the results speak for themselves. This worked perfectly. I also painted the eyes while I was at it. I went back to the red to try a second coat in an attempt to get a more solid colour, but it didn't help too much. I moved on and used the same red to dot the wrist lights and the reliquary glass. The red had ruined the black on the bolter, so I used Black Legion to try and fix some of that up. I highlighted the wrist lights with Evil Sunz Scarlet and tried to recover the red checkers by highlighting those too. I used Khorne red to highlight the wax. I returned to the wrist lights with Wild Rider red, doing some highlights and a very basic edge highlight as a glow effect. I used a micron pen to draw scribbles on the parchment. Wanting a more warm gold colour, I used Reikland Fleshshade over the Retributor armour. Reikland Fleshshade and Seraphim Sepia are excellent for shading Retributor armour, depending on the temperature you're looking for. I tried using Nuln oil to shade the metallics. It's so weak nowadays it's disappointing, but it does work better for panel lining. After the washes were dry, I applied a layer of matte varnish through my airbrush. You can use a rattle can or apply it thinly by hand if you don't have an airbrush. Now for the enamel wash. I got a dropper and put some odourless thinner in a saucer. I mixed in some aircraft engine wash, making sure it was pretty thin, and then I applied it all over the miniature. I added more thinner when I felt it was necessary. This wash is meant to add texture, while colouring in the recesses to add more definition. After it was dry, I went back with a cotton bud with thinner on it and removed it from various surfaces. I always miss something. The metal plate here on the holster was painted with Leadbelcher. We'll be fine. Then on to my favourite part for lightly coloured miniatures, the chipping effects. Using Rhinox hide, I painted little chips and scratches along the edge of the plates. These could represent cracks that dirt has settled in, or chips showing a theoretical undercoat primer. After I was done, I varnished the model, then did the same basing method as in my first few videos off screen. And here's the final result. This one came out better than what I thought it would, though there are some issues. The burgundy probably needed a highlight, as the wash didn't add enough definition to it. And while I did try some chipping effects for the burgundy, the colours were too similar and it just looked messy. The transfers came out excellent, though the red staining didn't work out very well. As I said earlier, perhaps Bile Red would have worked better for this one. The transfers on the knee were a bit large compared to the reference too, but I don't have anything smaller available, so we make do, I guess. I've got the next 2 miniatures built and primed, but what's after is yet to be determined. I'm maintaining a list of requests, so keep those suggestions in the comments coming. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a lesser known chapter, but I'm all about experimenting with different chapters, so I hope you'll stick around for more.